What's up, guys? We are in week 3 of our series, Love Slash Hate. Hopefully, things are going really well. I know I'm enjoying it. So, I want you to bear with me a little bit. I want you to use your imagination and think back to when you were last at a good mall. Okay, I know we don't have one, not at least close by, but in Charleston, Roanoke, wherever that has a decent one. Think about that and how neat that is. One, there's some grade A people watching going on. It's almost as good as the State Fair. The State Fair by far is the best people watching in the world. You never know what you're going to see. All right. But that's not all that's going on. One thing that's also really neat is you see different brands with completely different vibes right next to each other. Okay, that's where you have Books A Million next to GameStop. Okay, and all these different things. Now, maybe you've never thought about your different brands having personalities or vibes or even a reputation, but they do. Think about it. There's a difference between Nikes and Sperry's. They're both shoes. They both help you protect your feet when you're doing things, but they are not the same shoe. Where you wear your Nikes to is not normally where you wear your Sperry's to, and totally different situations. Or think about different stores. Okay, I think of Old Navy, Gap, and Banana Republic. Those 3 stores are completely different. They are owned by the same company, but they each have their own personality, their own style. What you find at one, you're not typically going to find at the other. Now, even though they sell to the same age and the same type of clothing, it's just totally different vibe at each location. So and here's what I think is fascinating, that these companies spend billions and billions and billions of dollars each year trying to control the reputation, the look, the smell, the feeling of what they're known for. They aren't accidents. These don't accidentally happen. They're decided carefully in a boardroom to figure it out. Okay, here's what I mean. The reputation is something they work really hard on. I'm going to read a couple to you. I'm going to say a couple different reputations, and you tell me, or you think and see if you realize who that is. This one worked pre-COVID, but it's still doing okay now. 2 days or less, lightning fast shipping. That's Amazon. Now it's a week, unless it's important. Lowest prices always. Walmart. Okay. Free music streaming. Spotify. Best chicken sandwich ever. That's, of course, Chick-fil-A. For those of you that think it's Popeye, you're wrong, and you just have to deal with how wrong you are, okay? But here's the point. Companies hire hundreds of people and spend billions of dollars every year trying to shape something that most of us don't give it a second thought. We spend very little time thinking about our reputation. Our reputations are made up of all sorts of things and bring out all kinds of assumptions about us and about who people think we are. Just think about the various groups at your school and around, the assumptions that you've made, that I've made, we've all made about people who are part of them. Assumptions like every rich kid is, the white, black, Hispanic, Asian kids are, people who with TikTok clout are, the APs or the honors kids are, the football cheerleaders are, the people who are really into band are, kids who vape are stupid, or I mean not stupid, making poor life decisions. No, whatever it is, even though we don't say it out loud, or at least we're not supposed to, we tend to fill in the blanks about people to assume that what we know about them, what we expect from them now, and what they're capable of doing in the next situation as well. In other words, we fill in the blank now. How we fill in the blank now determines what we expect from them next, okay? Whether we know that person or not. It doesn't matter. We've made that expectation. Their reputation or one that we've built for them without them having anything to do with it, based upon a single action of a person that may not be them, but a person in their group. This isn't just a teenager thing. This is a human thing. We all do it. But where do these assumptions come from? Well, I think there's a lot of places, but 2 of the following stand out the most for me. One is our experiences. We have experiences from where someone did someone like them, or may even been them at some point, did or said something to us, and through that experience we are correlating everybody who's like them to do the same type of thing, and we make that prejudice, that prejudgment of what that person is going to be like. Another is our insecurities. Okay, sometimes our assumptions are formed from our own insecurities. The person that we're filling in the blank for has something that we want or wish that we had. They have a starting position on the team. They come from a family that's not as crazy as mine. By the way, their family is as crazy as yours. They just hide it better and you don't know about it. They come from a house that you could never afford. It's annoying. We automatically assume the worst about them because they remind us of how far we feel from being the best. Okay, our limited experiences and insecurities cause us to fill in the blanks and convince ourselves that we know somebody way more than what we actually do. We've made this decision. We can literally predict their future based upon some illogical formation in our mind. And if we really stop and think about it, it doesn't make much sense, but it's what we've done. And it can be a problem if we really want to be known for love rather than hate, because we don't fill in the blank typically with something nice. The ironic part is we hate when someone does it to us, when others do it to us, but how do we resist the temptation to do the same thing to others? Now, there's a moment from Jesus' life that I think is going to be a really big help in this, and when we look at it, Jesus was in the middle of in a very tense encounter. Some of the religious leaders of Israel at the time, these teachers of the law and the Pharisees, were a big deal in the religious circles. They had this self-righteousness that set them apart from everybody else. So when Jesus came around and started spending time with people that the religious people had deemed as sinners and not worthy, people that weren't as close to God as they were, things got a little tense. They actually were trying to catch Jesus off guard by questions that they hope that would prove that he was a phony, that would trick him a little bit. They wanted to get a slip-up answer and get something that would take away from his credibility and make him look bad to make them look better. So during one of these encounters, after some people had gathered to listen to Jesus teach, this was actually at a temple, the religious leaders caught a woman in an R-rated situation. So they dragged her out of that currently ongoing R-rated situation to in front of Jesus to show, to see how he would do her punishment. And I think what unfolds here is really awesome. And here's what the scripture says, and this is John 8, starting at verse 3. So, as he was speaking, the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something that they could use against him. Now, don't miss what this is said. They actually caught her in the act of whatever. Okay, she was literally committing adultery as they caught her, and they dragged her out. Pretty embarrassing in and of itself. And that's where I asked the question, where's the dude? Okay, where's the guy? And that's when you can go down the rabbit hole of thinking, well, were one of them the guy? And they actually said, ooh, I might as well, whatever. I don't know. We don't know until we get to heaven. We can talk to Jesus about it. So that's a pretty awful moment right there to begin, because we need to understand what the law says about this. The law of Moses says that what Jesus should do, and what the law should do, is take this woman that they have humiliated, take her out, and take her in front of people and pick up stones and throw them and hit her with these stones until she's dead. That's what the law said. So they were trying to see if she was going to ignore the law of Moses, which would get him stuck in a bad situation, or he was going to say to stone her to death, which would get him in a bad way with the crowd. So that, the leaders knew that this was a trap, and that was the point. And look what happens next. Jesus does a perfect Jesus moment. And this is one of my favorite lines of all of Scripture, and I've talked to you about it before. It's a but Jesus moment. These but Jesus God moments, or but Jesus moments, and but God moments. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, "All right, But let one of you who has never sinned throw the first stone." And then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until there was only Jesus left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." Now, this is the epitome of a mic drop moment there, because they thought they had him. They had him square in the race. He had two options. No, he picked three. He picked an option that they weren't prepared for. And this is where it gets really fun if you get in like some of these, again, down the rabbit hole moments, and you start saying, "Oh, what was Jesus drawing in the dust?" We don't know. One of the things that's popular for us to think about is maybe he wrote down the sins of those that were there. And so, I know what you did. That kind of thing. I don't know. We have no record of what it said. Again, I'll ask him when I get there. But it was really basically put them in a place saying, you're quick to point out everyone else's wrong, what they've gotten wrong, but what about you? What have you gotten wrong? Then one by one, after being put in their place, they realized their plan had totally backfired. And Jesus kindly and lovingly releases the woman who was literally afraid for her life and tells her to go on in freedom and live her life differently. Can you just wrap your head around that? How awesome a moment that would be. Now, don't miss this. All right? Here's something that I totally missed at first. And everyone here was guilty of something. I got that. Both the religious leaders and the woman. Jesus had a message for both of them. His message wasn't just to the crowd and wasn't just to the woman, but it was also to the Pharisees. What is possible for your future isn't determined by your past. Not if you're a Pharisee and not if you're the woman. Both are guilty. Both of these people were guilty of past actions, and both were free to go. Jesus didn't condemn the Pharisees because he knew what they had done. Both had a reputation of being one way. Both could choose to live differently than what they had when they arrived. Jesus challenged the woman to change by saying, "Go and sin no more," because no matter her reputation, he believed that the change was possible for her. It was such a Jesus move. He changed everything because he responded in love to everyone in this situation and in all situations. And that's exactly what you and I are supposed to be about too. But isn't it true that sometimes we're more on brand with the religious leaders? We totally get what they're going at. Don't we often fill in the blanks about other people based upon a behavior one time, something they did, and we define them by that? Don't we tend to assume that we already know what will happen the next time in their story because of what they did one time before? But Jesus' approach in this situation teaches us something different. The woman who had a brand of reputation of doing something bad, we don't know what else she did. This could be the first time. We don't know. But Jesus did know. Jesus knew everything about her. And yet he didn't condemn her. He knew that there was potential in her to change. He didn't write the story about who she was because what she had been caught doing. He didn't fill in the blank for her, even though he knew everything about her. He saw her as a whole person. And as a whole person, he saw her as deserving another chance. Jesus proved that we are more than the assumptions and the judgments others make of us. We are worthy of forgiveness, grace, and a second chance because of his love for us. And we can extend that same forgiveness, grace, and love to others too. Now, what if the approach that you and I started to take when forming our ideas about and opinions about other people, what if instead of filling in the blanks with assumptions, we started filling in assumptions and judgments, we chose to believe another radically different, that anyone could radically change? What if we believed that anyone could surprise us and really totally do a shift and live better than they were before? What if we chose to fill in the blank with love? Okay, so let love fill in the blank. This would change a lot of the way that we think about how we treat other people, wouldn't it? Not only would it change the way that we think about them, but we think about the way ourselves too. We may wind up realizing that We're not as terrible as other people think we are. We're not as terrible as other people's made us feel. We're not as perfect as we may think. There's something both encouraging and humbling about Jesus's approach. It puts us all on the same level. We've all messed up. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Not perfect. Ask my wife. Not perfect. She's not either. She's a lot better than me. But no. She's not. We're all guilty. We've all messed up. When we start looking at each other with love, we start to see, okay, we're all messed up, but let's get this together. Okay, let's love each other and get through these things together. We are more than just things that we've done. We are more than just the reputation that's beyond us. As individuals, we're not over. Our story isn't over. Our story isn't written yet. So when we have opportunities for assumptions and judgments to start flying at you and you're taking these, let's take these steps towards a new approach. First, I want you to stop and think about others have filled in the blanks about you in the past. When you make an assumption about someone, about how they are or what they will do, stop. Stop and think about how in your own life people have done that to you and how that made you feel and how they've underestimated you. People have put limits on you because of you're young, because of any number of things. They've limited you and how that made you feel and how that felt, just weighing you down, keeping you from doing. And how have you experienced the other side of someone filling in the blank? Remember how Jesus' forgiveness brought us to a place in our life where we started to change for the better. When we accepted Jesus Christ into our life, we started to make a change, our old for the new. And we want to treat others better, treat others the way that Jesus treated us, with grace, love, and assuming their best days are ahead of them, okay? 2, I want you to think about how you've wrongly filled in the blanks about someone else before. Who's someone else someone that you know that you have judged them incorrectly and they've proven you wrong, and how awesome that is. People that you've judged in a negative way before learning about them, and the relationships that you may have missed out on because you have prejudged them and put barriers there. What if you chose to fill in the blanks with them with Jesus's brand of compassion? What if we chose to let love fill in the blank? And what if we think about someone now, what we think about someone now and what we expect from them in the future? Let love fill that in. Okay, here's where it gets a little personal, okay? Everybody does this. We all mess up. All. Me too. We all need to ease up on our assumptions that we make and our judgments. But when it comes to the church and church people, getting this right is even more important because we are representing Jesus Christ. We start to think of these things like, they don't belong here. If you knew what they did last night, I don't belong here. We start to judge ourselves. They'll never change. And we talked about that before. That's a horrible thing when in light of the gospel. They'll never change. People like that always, or people like me always. But here's the thing: statements like those are as easy as they are to make. They take the Christ out of Christianity. Okay, there's no Jesus in those statements. Okay, and so they have no place here. They have no place in us because I have Jesus in me. There's no room for that type of judgment in me because I expect people to change if they come into a radical changing relationship with Jesus Christ. When he shows up, he changes things, okay? Because that's the Jesus that I know. So they have no place here. So Jesus made it so clear with the woman and the Pharisees and with nearly everyone that he ever met that love is what fills in the blanks. There's always hope for change. So when we choose to follow Jesus' example and take these steps, we're choosing to let love fill in the blank instead of our quick and easy assumptions, our shallow judgments, about who they are and who they can be because of one little thing. Just imagine what would happen if this is how we would start to be forming our opinions about other people. We started using God's grace, love, and mercy to form an opinion about them. Imagine how freeing that would be. Imagine how more welcoming we would be as a church if we really did that. Not just us as Rhema, but church as in all of Christianity started loving others, not judging others. Okay? What if we started branding ourselves with Jesus. We can, we can be a people who let love fill in the blank about others. When we do this, we will be a people known for our love for others, just like Jesus and just like Jesus intended for his people to be. I love you guys, and I pray that you show the love that Jesus has given you, because he doesn't just love you, he loves everyone around you. I love you.